Recording in progress.
There we go. So let me see how many we have. 6. Okay, well, welcome to the 6 of you. We're going to, of course, have our class today. I know that I have really no idea how this is going to go because I know there are a lot of electricity problems and other things, and I rely kind of very heavily on being able to talk with you guys and to try to keep this exciting. Today, we'll see how this develops in the future because I don't know how the problems in Lebanon are going to be. I'm in the United States, so I'm coming back to Lebanon at the beginning of October. So it is now 4 a.m. here. So if you notice, it's a little black in the background. I had to get up at 3 a.m. to get prepared for this. So even if I'm not in Lebanon, I assure you I am suffering with you. So what we'll do today is we'll go through just, basic things like you usually do in these courses. I'll maybe ask to hear from a few of you. During a normal class session, I will ask, always for volunteers, because I like to have a kind of back and forth. This gets really, really boring for all of us, me included, when we can't kind of interact with each other. And I like to learn things from my students as much as I hope my students like learning things from me. So I like to interact and I like to talk, but that's really, really, as you know, impossible on a lot of these Zoom sessions, to talk with everyone at once. So what I do is I run participation by having every class, some people volunteer so that I can, they'll turn on their cameras if they can. And then I ask them questions as we go and we kind of, banter back and forth. And try as much as we can to entertain everyone else. So today, maybe I'll just, since there are only 8 or so of you here, I'll just call your name as I see you, or if you want to volunteer, that's fine too. We can do that in a minute. Actually, right now, just to get used to it, is there anyone who would like to volunteer to interact with me here today? Don't be shy. Just speak up, and I will write your name down, and then that will count as a participation credit going forward. Kevin, you up for it?
Yes. You can hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing anything.
You can't hear anything? I'm speaking.
Yes, no? Leah, would you like to participate today?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I can't hear Kevin. Kevin, can you try again to speak? Are you guys hearing me just fine?
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Leah, can you try to speak?
I can hear Kevin.
Yes, hello.
Oh,
Yes, doctor, we can hear you
not
both.
going well.
Now can you hear me?
Let me see.
Professor, I can hear Kevin the
Let me
whole.
just check.
I don't
If it
know.
doesn't work from your guys' side, as long as you can hear me, that'll be fine. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. For some reason, I'm not, when you guys turn green there, and I think you're speaking, I don't hear a thing. I sometimes hear a little blip, but maybe the internet in Lebanon is just too bad. I don't know. In any case, I'm gonna, if you guys, if this clears up, we'll start that. But okay, so first of all, let me just introduce myself a little bit. Here we go. I wrote down so I don't forget who I am. I wrote this down here. So my name is Courtney D. Fugate. I'm in the CVSP department and in the philosophy department. I share an appointment in those two. So if you are philosophy majors, welcome. I'm from Indiana, which is where I am right now in the United States. I pursued my earliest, my dreams is when I was a kid, like you guys are. I was a double major in physics and mathematics. That's what I really wanted to do, but for personal reasons, I ended up going to Europe, to Belgium. I thought temporarily. This is how a lot of things you'll realize happen in your life. You plan to do them temporarily, and they turn out being permanent. So I went to Belgium and did a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and then eventually a PhD in philosophy at the Catholic University of Leuven. Sometimes what happens is you realize you're really, really good at something, and it works out. That's what happened with me. I specialize in the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, if any of you have heard of him. If you haven't heard of him, there's a course that we teach here, CVSP 206, where you get to read some Immanuel Kant. He's a German philosopher. He's one of the most important philosophers for the past, but also in contemporary philosophy, which makes him quite interesting. I also specialize in German philosophy before Kant, and I have interest in metaphysics, philosophy. Metaphysics is kind of the study of being, the study of what is, the structure of reality. So in some sense, that kind of merges with my interest in science. Philosophy of mind or artificial intelligence. Some years ago, and hopefully in the future, I taught a course on called Mind, Machines, and the Game of Chess, which was about artificial intelligence and its using the game of chess and its kind of implementation. If you know something about the history of computer science, you'll know that computer scientists and AI specialists kind of cut their teeth trying to get computers to play chess, right? So modeling the mental processes involved in decision making in that game to kind of develop supposedly computers that could think like human beings. So I'm very interested in that kind of topic, and I taught a course on it once here at AUB. And in the history and philosophy of science is another. I've done some other courses related to that. I've been teaching at AUB since 2010. So many of you maybe have heard of me. You'll probably take some of you will take my courses in the future. I often teach in the philosophy department, and I often teach CVSP 206 and then some other CVSP classes. I was previously at Emory University. You might know the president was at Emory University for a long time. I didn't know him while he was there. And at the American University in Cairo for 3 years. I'm still only getting kind of faintly odd sounds from you guys. So that's just an update there. Okay, do you have any questions about me? Feel free in the chat or to speak up just on my biography or anything else you'd like to know about me. Anything random? My favorite color, what would you like to know? Am I a difficult grader? No, don't want to know any of these things. Okay. If not, I don't see anything coming in the chat. You guys can still hear me, yes? Awesome. Okay. Well, ready to start. Okay. I don't know what that means, but okay. So here I will want some kind of feedback, at least in the chat a little bit. So I want to talk about 3 things today. First of all, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, this is CVSP 201. CVSP 201 and 202 are kind of introduction to CVSP courses. So they're courses, we know that students haven't taken a CVSP course before. And so one of the first things we have to talk about is, what is the point of a CVSP course? Why do we take them? Why do we have them? Why are you forced to take them? For those of you who are forced to take them, should you be forced to take them? What's their goal? All of these kinds of questions we want to talk about just briefly, because it really is it also is quite important to kind of figure out what we're doing here. Because for me as well, I treat these courses very much as kind of goal-directed activities. Instead of thinking that we're just here to read a bunch of stuff and talk and to waste your time, I think rather we're here to pursue some very specific goals, for you to develop, some very specific skills. In other words, I'm not really here to waste your time. And the more we kind of think about that and try to figure out what our real intention in this class is, hopefully the more you'll get out of it and the more you'll see the value of it. So just in the chat, someone want to tell me what they think CVSP is? Or you can try to speak. I could call on someone and see if we can hear you guys yet. Thomas, do you want to try to speak? Unmute yourself and see if I can hear you. Mariam, do you want to try? Or here, maybe Thomas is trying. Let's see. He unmuted and then remuted. Anyone else? Just Kevin, do you want to try again? See if I can hear you.
Yes, sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Still can't.
So Leah put into the chat. Thank you very much, Leah. And I will, for people who put in the chat, I will write their names down for, as I said, participation. I'll explain that later when we go through the grading criteria for this course. But I'll write her name down. My apologies that your internet is not working. This is kind of surprising to me, but that it's this bad. But do let me know in the chat if suddenly you can't hear me. So Leah says CVSP is the study of different civilizations. Certainly that is true. In CVSP, we study a number of different civilizations. If you take CVSP 201, we generally cover ancient Greek civilization. So from about, well, we start actually several thousand years before BC, right? Or before the year 0, with ancient Mesopotamian civilization and culture. And then we move up to Greek culture in about 800, the Odyssey, 600 BC, around in there. Then we move forward through Greek times to about 300 BC. And then we transition over and do some things from Roman civilization around the year 0, right? So that's CVSP 201. That's what we'll do in this course. We'll start with the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is an ancient Mesopotamian story about a hero who seeked immortality and goes through a number of adventures. That's the first text we'll read. We read the Odyssey of Homer, quite a long and difficult text, but also really, really entertaining. We read the beginnings of ancient philosophy in Plato and Aristotle. Not really the beginnings. It's a little bit, for you guys, it's kind of the beginnings. There were some pre-Socratic philosophers, quite a few of them. But we're going to start with Socrates, kind of the father of philosophy in a certain sense, as he is explained in the writings of Plato. Maybe some of you know Socrates never wrote any texts, and Plato writes dialogues in which Socrates is the main character. Aristotle, as I said, we'll read Greek tragedy, Oedipus the King. If hopefully some of you have heard of Oedipus the King, maybe perhaps through psychology. Sigmund Freud, a German philosopher and psychologist, made a lot out of this Oedipus story. It's very entertaining, the story, which we'll talk about. We'll read from Thucydides, some of the first writings on history. So the beginnings of science, the beginnings of philosophy, the beginnings of history. Then in Roman texts, we'll read Virgil's Aeneid, which is a kind of adventure story, which is supposed to tell the beginnings of ancient Rome. Yes, Nasser said Oedipus complex. Yes, that is exactly Oedipus the king. You've probably heard of something called the Oedipus complex, which is it's a concept invented by Freud to try to explain certain kinds of behavior. And that behavior is based upon the idea that somehow there's a secret desire among men to murder their fathers and sleep with their mothers. Yes, I know it sounds disgusting, but that is essentially the plot of Oedipus the king. He doesn't want to do these things. He is fated to do these things. So we'll talk about a little bit what, whether a Freudian interpretation of that kind of thing is interesting for us or not. But that's the basic story. So you get the idea. This is civilizations. This is we're still riffing on Leia's comment. We study civilizations. These are the kind of things we're going to study. If you take 202, you would study medieval civilization, which would include Islamic philosophy, a little bit of Greek philosophy, Christian Middle Ages. CVSP 206 studies the early modern world, so the world from about 1650 to about 1830, and goes through various philosophers, writers of that period. And then CVSP 204 is contemporary, and so it does stuff from existentialism, French philosophy, literature, some world literature from the last 100 years. So that's what CVSP does as a sweep of civilizations and cultures and things like that. Because CVSP studies cultures and what we're doing there, it's not simply to understand those cultures, but also to compare those cultures. So under Leia's answer, which was a very good one, there's a little bit more, because we don't just want to study cultures, we want to study how they compare to one another. How, in other words, how human beings and their ways of thinking, their ways of living changed, and the causes that brought about those changes, right? So why do the Romans, so you might know this, but you'll learn it eventually in this class, that the Romans and the Greeks have essentially the same gods, right? They believed in the same essential religion, right? Except you probably noticed they all have the same gods have different names for the Romans than they did for the Greeks, right? Zeus in the Greek religion is Jupiter in the Roman religion, right? All the names are changed. And in fact, when you read the Roman texts and that we're going to read, you'll find that the gods not only changed their names, but their personalities changed, and a lot of things were different. Are they the same? Are they different? Why did they adopt the same gods? What was it in Roman culture that made them think about religion so differently from the way the Greeks thought about it? This is all kinds of questions that we'll talk about, right? You might think, well, all those ancient cultures, they were all the same, right? They didn't have the internet, they didn't have telephones. They just were a bunch of people living in huts and nothing too interesting going on. They were all more or less the same. And this is completely, not true, right? They had extremely different ways of conceiving the world. Their ways of conceiving the world were utterly distinct from what we think today, which is an important thing we'll learn. But they were also very, very different from each other. And understanding why that is and how that happened, that's getting more actually into what CVSP I think is really all about. It's about thinking about human beings, thinking about yourself as a human being, and the kinds of forces and things that form the way you think and how those things change over time, and what causes and interconnections are. So that's one thing we do in CVSP. A lot of students, I think their natural reaction is, I am taking CVSP because I am required to take CVSP. right? That this course is somehow supposed to be good for me in a way that I don't yet quite understand. Maybe it's supposed to make me a more rounded person. Maybe it's supposed to make me a more interesting person. Maybe it's supposed to, teach me some lessons. To some extent, that's true. I don't put any real emphasis on that. I'm not here to make you a better person or anything. But I am here to exercise kind of three main areas that are not specific to CVSP. They're kind of part of being a good, thoughtful human being, right? Which I imagine all of you would like to be someday. I would like to be such a thing someday. One is the ability to understand complicated things that are presented to you that are unfamiliar, right? That's pretty much, you can't make it in this world without that skill. Any job, any employer is going to expect you to be able to handle things thrown at you that they don't have to walk you through, right? So the ability to take charge, grapple with difficult ideas, difficult concepts, things that you've not seen before, and to be able to put them in some kind of, order and try to at least come up with a plan for how to make sense of them and how to deal with them. We're going to do that primarily through that process, simply through the medium of texts, right? These texts are difficult. They're not difficult. I mean, a lot of people, you pick up the Gilgamesh text, whatever, you'd read it in an afternoon, you wouldn't think it was very difficult. But we want to really understand that text in a very high, intellectually complex and deep way. And that is very difficult. It requires us to examine our own presuppositions, our own ideas, to think about the distance between ourselves and the text that we're reading, to understand the text as a text itself, what's unique about that text, in its own time and its own period, how it was generated. It's going to require you guys to develop skills in reading that you've never thought about, I'm sure. You're going to have a dictionary at hand, probably, hopefully all the time, right? To look up words you do not know, to pursue sentences that are too complicated and you don't really understand them. And really your goal is to, read these texts and to not let anything get by you that might be the basis for coming up with a new idea or a new thought or understanding the text better. And understanding how to unlock that text. That, again, is not a skill that is just about texts. It's about everything in life is like that. So that's one kind of the primary thing I hope that you gain from this course, is an ability to think and to analyze information that is given to you in a textual format. The second thing is to critically think about that and to respond to it in some way, right? So the ability to write, the ability to discuss in detail, and to debate issues that arise in the text. So this encompasses a lot of different skills, like which are important also outside of CVSP, like the ability to come up and understand what a good question about something is. This, I find, is one of the most difficult things for students. I have sometimes on exams, the exam question has been come up with your own question and answer it. And that turns out to be the question that students dislike the most. Why? Because in order to form a really good question about anything, you have to understand it really well, right? You have to be able to analyze it and to see what is important and what is unimportant. You can ask all kinds of dumb questions, right? I mean, I say that with a smile. What I mean is you can ask all kinds of questions that don't really get to the heart of the thing you're talking about, right? You can talk to a person and you can ask them what their favorite color is and where they were born and these kinds of things. And that wouldn't really tell you anything about the person themselves. If you want to ask them a really good question, that takes a lot of thought, right? You might need to know a person quite well to know what kind of question would really kind of, you know, elicit an interesting, deep answer. It's the same way with text. It's the same way with anything. Asking a really good question already presupposes that you have a really good understanding of it, right? Just to ask a good question. So that asking good questions, pursuing those questions, how to pursue those questions, how to debate those questions, and express your opinion on those in those answers. That's the second really kind of big thing that we're doing in this course, right? The third thing is, in a certain sense, just to enjoy these texts, to learn a little bit about the world, right? To exercise ourselves. That's really just the third thing, and hopefully that's, you know, something enjoyable to you. This is I mean, congratulations to all of you for choosing 201. If you had a choice, 201 is one of the most exciting and fun courses I think that's offered at AUB. So hopefully it'll be with us for a long time. Any questions about CVSP? I'm looking at the chat in case you type anything in there. Do you have any really good questions about CVSP? That was all clear? Yes? Anyone can reassure me in the chat if all you followed all of that and that was all pretty straightforward and simple. 2, 3 new messages. Yes, all is clear, all is clear. Okay, great. Let me see here. So the next thing I want to say something about the content of the course. I already said a little bit about what we're going to read, but I'm going to take you over to another page here. Hopefully you can all see this. So you all got, and please tell me this in the chat, you all got what is called the complete guide to CVSP 201. Now, there's somewhat of an irony in that title. The complete guide is not complete, but I just call it that to call it a kind of definitive. That is a document. I will expand it over the semester, depending on how things, and as things change, you know, if we really do go back to in-person teaching, which I really hope that we do, then that document will change a bit, because we'll be able to do, you know, in-person exams and things like that. Some other things, as you ask me questions, or I think the things there will be things added. So I will update that guide from time to time. Whenever I do update it, I will email it to all of you. You can see at the top of that guide, when you open it, it says last updated, and it gives a date, right? And then that will be changed. In the part of the reason that I send all that information as that text document is because of something I don't know if you know quite yet. It is a very annoying feature of the AUB mail system. The AUB mail system blocks pretty much anything that mentions certain kinds of websites. So if I send you an email that told you what the name of our website is for this course, you would never get it. I've learned this, and I would not get any kind of response that said you didn't get it. It would just vanish into the ether. So that's unfortunate, but that's the case. If you write me any emails, never mention this website, because then I will never get your email. And this is true of some other websites as well. So that's why part of the reason I put it in the complete guide. Now, the complete guide is, as it is supposedly, the first place to go when you have any kinds of questions, right? So you have any kinds of questions about grading, but particularly how to send me or communicate with me certain assignments. That should all be covered in the complete guide. How to take the quiz, that should be covered there, right? The grading policy is fairly detailed there. We'll look at it here together, but also once you've read that, once you've gone through all of that, then it's really up to you to ask me questions. I cannot possibly think of all the possible questions you'd have. So at the end of the semester, if you didn't know the answer to a question, but you didn't ask me, that's kind of your problem, not mine. I'm here all the time. We can always have a Zoom chat or whatever to answer any kind of questions, or I can help you with anything. My entire goal here, I mean, I really, hopefully you'll appreciate this, but I teach these classes not for myself, but for you. I know a lot of professors maybe teach because it, maybe that makes them feel good to teach, or they like to teach. I don't mind teaching, but I don't do it for my own pleasure. I do it for you. These courses are for you. You are paying for them. Hopefully you want them. I'm here to just do everything I can to help you with that. When I grade, my entire point of grading is to motivate you to work harder and to learn and to develop and to grow. And that's what I think the university is about. And that's what we'll do. So in other words, I'm here to facilitate. That's my goal and my job. So anyways, back to, we're going to talk about the content, but here in the guide, if you open, it's kind of hard to do things with the screen sharing here. Here is the complete guide opened on my computer. Suppose you can see that. If you go down here, hopefully you've read through it, but if not, okay. You'll see the web address of our website. So basically, you will get all of your texts from the Moodle Meta Course, right? From the Moodle Meta Course. You can go there and download the PDFs of all the readings. Other than that, we won't be using Moodle at all. Instead, we will use this website, fugatecvsb201.weebly.com. That is the course website and hub, right? So we will not be using the Moodle except for downloading the readings. And so I'm going to show you that now, the website, because I've got, if I can get there myself. No, how do I do this? Yeah, you don't need to see my loan applications. Okay, let me see. Can I do it this way? I think I can. Aha. Okay, so we're back to the website. So this is the course website. You can access it, anywhere on your phone or whatever. I don't know if it looks good on a phone. If you go to here at the top, you've got the different sections. We already talked about a lot of the material in the syllabus. So I'm going to click on the syllabus. This syllabus here is the standard syllabus that holds for all CVSP courses. So it's not specifically my syllabus. I didn't write it. But this, what is a CVSP course? Course learning outcomes, right? One of the things, here, the course content, as I told you, we're going to start with the Epic of Gilgamesh. We're going to read Plato, Aristotle. We probably will not read Lucretius, a Roman author, Homer, the Odyssey, an adventure story, essentially, Sophocles, Oedipus the King, Thucydides, the histories of the Peloponnesian War, and Virgil, right? The Aeneid of Virgil, another adventure story. That's the content, right? If you want to go further, I talked about, unlocking texts and all that stuff. That's generally a summary or my version of these kinds of critical skills that CVSP is supposed to give you. You can read through all that on your own. The grading criteria, this is just the general syllabus. So this is not my grading criteria. This is just what they put there. My grading criteria you will find in detail, and we'll go through it on the complete guide. Attendance, this is kind of up in the air, right? Because generally my view is you need to attend. If there's problems with it, of course, with the internet, this is a huge issue. So if you have to miss or you simply can't help it, but your electricity is out, it's always good to let me know that that is why you are not attending, that you have a good reason, and it's not simply because you're on the beach somewhere and not really interested. So it's good to know. Do let me know. I don't have a very strict participation or attendance policy, but I do have a participation policy. Right. So obviously, if you're not attending, you cannot participate. And that's why I need to know if you can't be in my class for some reason. Then you can't participate. And so I need something to give you a task to offset your lack of participation, right? So make up for that. That's why I need to know. Finally, there's always a statement here about, there should be also a statement about if you have any kind of learning issues or accommodation, make sure that you send those documents to me early in the semester. I will, of course, completely observe whatever the university requires, and I'm here as a facilitator. If you have issues that you need to take care of or that you need to discuss with me, then we can do that. Last thing, plagiarism. I know this is a very boring topic. I have a quiz about plagiarism that I'll give you, so I'm not going to say a lot about it. But generally just do know any kind of use of materials for writing anything in this class. You'll have some things you need to write for me. Using any kind of materials without citing those, no matter whether you intended to cite it and forgot, or whatever the reason, if there's ever anything that you've turned into me that comes from a document or a paraphrase of a document or someone else's ideas, and you did not write that out explicitly by giving a citation or some other indication, then that is considered plagiarism, and that is grounds for failing this course. My general advice is this course is about thinking and reading. And so you don't need, in principle, you don't need any outside resources for this course. They should not help you. You'll see why as we go, because most outside resources are going to be like very flimsy summaries, whereas we're going to look at the text in great detail and read it and come up with our own ideas about it. And you're not going to find your own ideas about Homer in some kind of secondary text. And you're not going to be able to develop interesting ideas about Homer's Odyssey, for instance, by reading a summary of it, because the summary leaves out all the interesting things. It just gives you the very basic plot. For this reason, sometimes, because these texts are difficult, reading summaries is useful, right? It's useful to just kind of get your mind around the story, to learn who the main characters are, and so on. But that will in no way make you capable of having the kind of discussions or giving the kind of answers that I expect in this course, because those should reflect your own reading, right? Your own thinking about the details and not about the general thing. I don't want to hear that, Odysseus in the Odyssey is a great hero. That's very uninteresting. Everybody knows that. That's on Wikipedia. That's in a summary. What I want to know is the very kind of dirty details about him and what you think about those, and ideas you can base on the very specific details of the text. So that's just a little thing about plagiarism. I will have a quiz for you to take about plagiarism. So we'll cover that in more detail. Okay, so that is if you look at the standard syllabus, how to contact me. Let's wait for the internet. If you want to contact me, here's a little box that will send me your email. I just prefer though that you use my Gmail address. So generally don't write me through AUB email. I find it very easy to miss emails. If you ever send me an email and I don't respond, just send me another email, please. I try my email policy, which I should put in my, I'm writing something down for myself, to put in the complete guide. My email policy generally is, write me about whatever, but I'm only going to respond if it's something I don't intend to cover in our class, right? So I'll usually almost always respond to your emails, but if it's a question like when is the exam or something, I will just write a note for myself to talk about that in the next class. So because that's a question for everybody. And if I answered that question every time someone asked me over email, I would be answering, 50 emails about the same thing over and over again. So that's either something I will add to the website or I will address in class. And if I don't, then, remind me and I'll respond to you specifically. But I hope you understand that with this online teaching, I have to sift out kind of the emails that require responses and the ones that, if I were to respond to them, I'd be responding to, 20, 30 emails per day, because I have, several, I have 2 sections of 22 students. So it's better that I address some of those questions by updating the complete guide or whatever, and then telling you all in an email or something like that. So I hope that that's agreeable to you. If you're having trouble, eliciting, sufficient response from me by email, just let me know and I'll take care of that. But yeah, I'm sure you know how all this goes. Just imagine, often I write to students and I don't get any responses, and they're not getting that many emails. So imagine with me getting as many emails as I do, the possibilities for me to overlook things and things is becomes exponentially larger. But here, this is how you get to me, gmail.com, or you can fill out this document. Okay. When I record classes, some of these classes will be recorded. Perhaps our next session will be recorded. I will post them here with where online classes. These are very old. If you click here, you'll find some very old ones which I need to take down. But this is where you'll find recorded sessions. Okay. Office and hours, that's not really relevant now, but later if we are on campus, here's all the information. I drew a beautiful little picture how to find my office and so on, with explanation. And there will be my office hours when I have office hours. The grading policies, I actually need to update that to what's in the complete guide, home, and the schedule. This is the most important thing, right? This is the key. This gives you week 1. I need to adjust this slightly, but the weeks of the course. So this is a kind of an interactive schedule. I can change this kind of on the fly, which I will do. So later stuff is maybe not exactly as it will be, because I'll change it as we go. Again, I like this course to be flexible, because as I said, this course is for you, and all students and all classes are a little bit different. And so I'm going to try to, I'm not trying to force you to read all of these texts as quickly as possible. If you were to take a normal CVSP class, you have to, in principle, you're supposed to read far more text than I believe any of you are probably even capable of reading. So, I try to keep a rather leisurely pace, because I like to actually think about the things that we read together, instead of just reading through them and rushing through them and not getting anything out of it. So for that reason, I like to have the schedule where I can change it as we go, and I can delay if we need more time on texts and so on. But here is where you'll find the schedule. As I said, all the books can be downloaded on the CVSP 201 Moodle Meta course. Have any of you, I'm now talking to some of you, you can respond in the chat. Have any of you checked the CVSP Meta course? and seen the texts there for download? Kevin says he did, and indeed the texts are there. Did you download the Epic of Gilgamesh? Yes, so he downloaded it. You can download it to your computer. Excellent. You should all go do that immediately after class today, if you don't have another class. The page, you'll see the page numbers. You can already start reading pages 61 to 84 for next time. As I said, next time will probably be a recorded session, but here will be the reading, and I'll update these readings as we go. Also in the in here is, I have these little sections called media and fun. You can take a look. Some of these are short videos, some of them are funny, some of them are actually informative, like this documentary, and various things. What is the purpose of this? Well, as you'll also find there are things like this. So as we read, you know, I've actually cultivated this website. This is my own personal website for this course. No other CVSP professors use this course, this website. And I like this because I can do a lot of things that I cannot do on Moodle. One of those things is, for instance, this, right? If you look, so these are all pictures related to, for instance, the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? And I was able, you know, I can go here and I can actually take a quotation. This is where Enkidu, who is the best friend of Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh slay an animal called the Bull of Heaven. And the Bull of Heaven here, this is as it was depicted by the ancient Mesopotamians themselves, looks very, very different from what you would imagine when you're reading it. And it's informative. And here is the, you know, actual representation of it. And I put the quote here, Enkidu cried to Gilgamesh, my friend, we boasted that we would leave enduring names behind us. Now thrust in your sword between the nape and the horns, nape of the neck and the horns. So Gilgamesh followed the bull. He seized the thick of its tail. He thrust the sword between the nape and the horn and slew the bull. All right. So I think this is very nice in a few ways, but it's also very important. Why is it important? Because these texts are extremely foreign to us. They're from thousands and thousands of years ago. They were written by people who, if you met them today, would freak you out, frankly. Their morals are completely different. Their view of life and the world and of death and marriage and everything is so different from you. You might as well be meeting an alien civilization. They share with you almost nothing. So that makes it very difficult to understand, but also to simply to remember some of these texts. You read them and they're so strange that they're not really like anything that you experience in your own life. They're not like anything you've read before. Just for their names, Enkidu, Gilgamesh, Ishtar, Utnapishtim, these names make it difficult to read because they're not Joe, John, Saeed, Thomas, Ahmad, Daniel, Kevin. These are not the names you're going to find in the text. So what you need is a framework in your mind for making sense of them, right? For thinking, well, what was that like? What are those words about? And when you see pictures like this, that helps your mind read the story. You say, at least you have this in your mind. This is what Gilgamesh supposedly looked like. This is what Enkidu looked like, right? You can put the names with a picture. And this greatly facilitates your learning and remembering these texts. So, you know, it also tells us something about the world they lived in, right? This is a depiction of Ishtar. Just looking at this tells us a great deal. This is a goddess. What was she a goddess of? She was a goddess of reproduction, right? To us, if this was a modern statue, we'd say this is very bizarre, right? But you notice it's the reproductive features that are being emphasized. They talk about a lot of materials in these texts, precious stones. You'll see the words lapis lazuli, hundreds of times in this text. What is lapis lazuli? Well, here's a picture of it. It's a fine blue stone that was used for coloring, right? And was of great value, more valuable than gold. It's nice that it's not only nice, but it's also very helpful to have some kind of idea of it. So that's what these media and fun sections are generally for. Contain information to help you relate to the text in a kind of deeper, more personal way. So that's the schedule and all other information for like things that you have to do. Like if I have if as I plan, next time is a recorded session, I will write here that we'll have that it's a recorded session with links where you can find the video. If there's a quiz to take, that will be posted here as we go, and so on, right? Are there any questions about the schedule? Or anything else that I've talked about so far? I'm looking at the chat. No, I'll give you no, thank you. Anyone else? For some reason, this very annoying doesn't show me what time it is. Can someone tell me what time it is? You can tell me your time in the chat, so I know where we are. It's 11:55. Okay. So we've got 20 minutes left. We probably won't take all of that time. Oh, here's another little thing, just to let you know. As in this case, for some reason, I can't see exactly what time it is, because this is just how the Zoom works for some reason. In general, I'm not watching the clock. So if I run over, that's not intentional. So just if I start to run over time anytime, just feel free in the chat to say we're out of time, right? And then I will wrap it up. So that's not, I'm not one of those professors who wants to continue talking all day. I have things to do just as you do. So just kindly remind me if I happen to go over. Let's see what else was on my list then. Okay, it's the complete guide. So let's go to the complete guide. You can open this yourself if you like. There's a lot of information here. And some of it is a little bit technical. So I will kind of go through it just quickly. I ask you to read through it in detail, right? And then shoot me any questions you have. And I will try to answer those questions by updating the complete guide so that then I can circulate it to everyone and answer all of their questions as well. So the goal of the course, I just put this in here. We more or less covered it, so I'm not going to read it now. The requirements. I'm sure you're all waiting with bated breath for exactly how this course will go. Again, as I said, my goal is to learn and to educate and with you and to enjoy this. So grading for me is a necessary evil. I would rather, if I had my choice, I would have no grades in this course, but the university requires them, and I know if I didn't give grades, none of you would pay any attention. So that's why I give grades, not because I enjoy rewarding certain people and punishing others. That's not why I give grades. So these are essentially things that, if you try in this course, you will do well in this course. If you don't try in this course, you will not do well in this course. If you want to get the highest grade in this course, you have to do the best in this course. That's just how it is, right? There's nothing too complicated about it. But nevertheless, I will break down for you the percentages in case you want to get into the nitty-gritty of the grading. Here it is. All of you, so as I said, the goal of this course, one of the main goals is to unlock these texts and to understand them in a kind of deep way. You cannot do that without reading them and analyzing them. How do you read and analyze? Well, part of reading and analyzing is going through a process that I call annotating a text. So I'm going to post a video about how to annotate a text. You're also going to see me annotating texts as we go through them. So you'll have lots of information about what it means to annotate a text. Now, I put that in the grading. So what you'll see, I'll explain to you the technicalities of it. You will download the PDF of your text, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. You will open it in something called Adobe Reader, which you should download and install on your computer. It's free, Adobe Reader. And Adobe Reader, I have a different Adobe program. I have Adobe Pro, but Adobe Reader and Pro both have this comment function, right? Which allows you to, for instance, highlight parts of the text. You can even highlight them in different colors. Write comments in the text, blah, blah, blah. You can, sometimes I like to make text boxes, right? And here you can write, if you have enough space in the margin. I'm not going to mess with this, but you can actually write stuff about the text or questions about the text. All of these things, and as you do them, this is called annotating a text. You can underline things, you can draw, right? Things like this. Well, I'm not doing this carefully, but all of these things you can do to basically visually digest the text and take it apart, right? And as you're reading, you need to do this. How you do this really is dependent upon your own style of understanding and things like this, right? Well, in any case, this is what annotating is all about. It's not a super onerous task. It just means you read the text and you've kind of marked up the text as you would with a pen if you were reading it at home, right? With a paper copy. Annotations are, for me, very, very important. They show me you read the text and they show me you thought about the text. And I can actually look at annotations. You may think, well, can I just like put a bunch of nonsense? No, I know these texts. I know what's important and what's not important. And I know that I can tell from looking at someone's annotations whether they just did them all the night before they were due, right? Or they actually did them when they were reading. It's fairly easy to tell. But the grading, 25% of your course grade is based upon you doing those annotations, right? This is graded simply as a 0, 1, 2, or 3, right? So the way I grade annotations is very relaxed, right? 3, you get a 3. That's the highest score you can get on the annotation. So it's 25% of your grade. Annotations, what does the 3 mean? It means, and here I give you a description, it means you annotated all of the text that we read, right? They're actual annotations for all the texts. And you did sufficient work to improve your reading skills, in my judgment. That's a 3. A 2, annotations as described above, meaning they are sufficient to improve your reading skills on the great majority of texts, or mediocre annotations on all the texts. 1, poor annotations on half or so of the text, extremely poor on all, or very good annotations on only 1 or 2 of all the texts. 0, no annotations or extremely poor annotations on a few texts, right? Very straightforward how I grade that.
Okay.
During the semester, all of you will have to do 1 blog post. So they're on the website. I don't have any up now because I took them all down from previous semesters, but during the semester, you will pair up with a partner, and during 1 week, you will write a blog post. And the blog post will be a few pages, and I will post it online with your names, and you will get a grade that is 15% of your grade, right? Now, if you want the details about how you do a blog post, and how you send me the blog post and when you send me the blog post, that's all below in complete guide, right? It's not right here. Participation and online quizzes. So as I said, I do, when internet is working properly, I want to talk with you guys. And so for that purpose, I take volunteers and I write down your names, and that's how you participate in this class. 10% is participation and or online quizzes. So sometimes when I give videos, I accompany that by a fairly simple, straightforward quiz that you take online. And that all goes together into this 10%, right? That is also a fairly simple thing. This is graded, basically you get a 0, a 1, or a 2, right? And here, I'm not going to read through it. It's much like above. It gives you a very specific statement about what that is. Other than that, we have only 2 other things that we do during this semester. We have a midterm and we have a final. And here I say oral written, oral written. Again, it depends upon if we are online during the midterm and the final, then they will be partially written, but mainly oral. If we're in the classroom, which is, I know we all hope we're in the classroom, then they will be primarily written. And I'll give you much more information about that later. There is more stuff on the website under grading for that, but it's me giving it to you now, you'll just forget it. So I'll give you that information later. By far, the most complicated and important part of this document is the methods of delivery. This is how you and I communicate, all right? It's how you send me things and how I send you things. Here is a description. I'm just not going to go through it today. I'm going to ask you to read it, and if you have questions about it, to ask me next time or send me email, and I'll add it to here. The annotations, to share those, I ask that you use a program called Dropbox, which is free to use. And here are the details. Please follow the instructions to a T. Do exactly what it says here, right? There are alternative ways of doing the things that I want you to do here. But I say do not use those alternative ways because they will create problems. Do it exactly the way that I say here, please. That will save us a lot of time and headache. How to deliver the blog posts, that's explained here. How we take online quizzes, that is also explained. I need to finish this sentence here. The schedule, everything is on the website, where to get the readings, etc. So, any questions on the complete guide? Obviously, you haven't read it in detail yet, so I'll expect more questions later, but if you have any questions right at this moment. I'm watching the chat for questions. Ahmad, no, I cannot hear you. Ahmad, you can type in the chat. Sophia? Is that how you say your name, Sophia? Okay. As it says in the complete guide that's down here, text for reading. These are all available for download on the CBSP 201 Moodle Meta course. Does that answer your question? Awesome. The texts are not posted on my website. The reason for that, and the reason for the Moodle Meta course, is that most of these texts are under copyright. So we cannot share them openly on the internet. They have to be under some kind of password protected website. That's why they are on the Moodle Meta course. Otherwise, I would just move them all to my website and we could just forget about Moodle altogether, but we cannot do that. So Ahmad had some question about the annotations. Again, that is a little bit of a technicality. As I said, I'll do a video about annotating and I'll show you how to annotate. I mean, there's nothing super special about it. I mean, the idea is just, as I'm sure many of you have, written in your text before, you highlight stuff. I just want you to do it in a slightly more detailed way. And you'll see me do it throughout the text. So you'll get the hang of that. And also, as I see you doing your annotations, I will periodically go through them and give you a assessment, right? So it's not like at the end of the course, I'm for the first time going to look at all your annotations and say, oh, they're all terrible. You fail, right? That's not what's going to happen. After you do the Gilgamesh annotations, I'm going to go through everybody's annotations, give you a preliminary score, and give you advice on whether you could improve them or make them better and how, right? So that again, this course is about improving, getting better, learning. It's not about what you already know or can already do. So if you can already annotate text quite well, my goal is to see you get better at it. If you've never done it before and don't know how to do it at all, then my goal is to at least get you up to an okay level, right? So every person who enters this course should get better at the things we're talking about, no matter how good they are right now. This isn't a course this is a course about improving and learning. That's otherwise there's no point to take it, right? Then you just take a quiz, a test that said, oh, you already know all this stuff, so you don't have to do this, right? But no, there's still everyone here, including myself, can get better at all of these things. Any other questions? I think I covered anything I didn't cover that you would like to hear. I really hope that the internet is better next time. Well, if not, then I will wrap it up. Thank you for attending today, all 9 of you. I have recorded this session, so I will post it on the online sessions page for others to watch. And keep your eye on the emails, because I will. There is a question. I want to answer it before we go. Firas asks, can you repeat how we get the link to your website and what files do we need to download from Moodle for the next lecture? So the next lecture will be about reading and stuff, as I said, online. Generally, what you should do is download the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the first PDF on the Moodle Meta course. How do you, I presume, Firas, that you know how to access the Moodle Meta course. Is that correct? Can you respond in the chat? Yes, okay. So about the website, Firas, you also have this text called the Complete Guide to CVSP 201. You got it in your email, correct? Excellent. Well, then right here is the web address for the website for this course. You'll find it at the very end of the Complete Guide. Right? For any of you, okay, good. So that is the website. Have a look around there. Any other questions, or else I'm going to wrap this up right here. All right, Ahmad, thank you too. All of you have a good day. I'll have a good, rest. It's 5 a.m. here now. So I have another class in a half an hour. All right. Nice to kind of meet all of you, and we'll have a good semester. Bye-bye.